Hi, in this video, I want to talk about something a little bit fishy, the hidden mess behind your repositories. Repository pattern is widely adopted in C# applications as an abstraction over data access mechanism, promising cleaner separation of concerns, something to improve testability and code that's more maintainable over time, and so many other good things. But when implemented poorly, repositories also can become leaky, and then we call it leaky abstractions. Then that fail to deliver on these promises. In this video, I want to just show you how we can create or develop a leaky repository and then how to solve it. What should we do now? Jumping to Visual Studio. I have a person entity model, something like that. ID, name, age. Nothing difficult. So I will close it. A simple DB context, which doesn't matter at all in this video, but just app DB context with a DB set of person. This one also does not matter. And now here. This is a repository. I called it iLeakyPerson repository. Why should I call it so bad? Because see, I returned an IQueryable of person. Not bad. In first insight, everything is fine, especially if you consume it like this. You can develop any app and everything is fine, no problem. But if somebody started using this IQueryable and did what he wanted, everything is in their hands. They can write a bad query, they can do whatever they want, and your repository has no control over anything. As you can see here, they can do anything, which is bad. If the consumer of this repository should be able to do such things, why should I have a repository? Just give them the DB context and let them do whatever they want at the service layer. Very easy. Why should I generate so many files, so many abstractions, so many interface to, again, let the consumer to do whatever he or she wants? So, what is the solution? The solution is in another file. Retain I read-only list of persons instead of IQueryable. And then how to consume it? Like this. Inside the repository, you should do whatever you have to. So if you want to skip some records or make pagination or whatever, your method should have input parameters and then handle everything inside your repository methods implementations like this. So when you want to filter or do something like that and consume that repository, you can do something like this. See? The user is not allowed to do whatever he wants. Everything is hidden at the heart of your repository. But in the leaky one, as you can see, the user can call your method without any parameter and then do what he wants. That's why we call it leaky, and this is the solution. So this is the first one. Let's jump to the other one. In this leaky repository, I return something absolutely related to entity framework. One of the main usages of repository and repository pattern is be independent from any database or any ORM. But by returning this and playing with that return value like this, I modified inside my service layer or at the consumer layer. So if one day I want to switch to another ORM, for example, what should I do with this one? Maybe that ORM doesn't have that entity entry. So why did I do that? Then again, I have to sit, scratch my head, and solve so many places one by one. That's why we call it leaky again. What is the solution? Come here. Never return anything related to any specific ORM or database like this. So, inside the repository, do whatever you have to, like save changes, changing the state, whatever. When you want to consume, you are allowed to just call the methods. The method inside the repository do the job. You do not go and do something like this, changing a state to be absolutely attached to one specific ORM. As you can see, everything should be done at the repository level. Never return something like this. And the other one. In this scenario, so far, no problem. But if something like an exception happens, I absolutely return something like this. Coupled to database. As you can see, SQL exception. So my repository itself is tightly coupled to a specific database like this. What is the solution? The solution is something like this. When I want to consume, I just handle something like this. I created an exception, and outside of the repository, if something happens, I can catch and use. As you can see, if, for example, the person was equal to null, I mean, I didn't get any record or data from this query, I raise this exception instead of generally going and say SQL exception. Here, I handle the exception internally like this. So as you can see, your code might work fine. Your service layer also do the job here. But the problem is that leaky interface is a big problem. Things are out of your hands and you have no control on some small places, which makes your code such a mess, or at least you will face performance issues. So this is one of the examples that you should consider when you're gonna deal with such things. Thank you so much for watching, and I will invite you to follow such things to be a better developer. See you in the next video.